Hello, 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 my YouTube subscribers. How are you today? Today I'm sharing my story about domestic and family violence. And yeah, so what I'm talking about, what is domestic violence? What has been my experience with domestic violence, and what can you do to get help? So my story is let's get started. First of all, what is domestic and family violence? Well, domestic and family violence is when you're in it's normally when you're in an intimate relationship with somebody and they make you fear for your life and fear for your safety, and then also where you're not allowed to be yourself. You have to pretend to be somebody else. And yeah, that's what domestic and family violence is. Why am I sharing about domestic and family violence? I'm passionate about domestic and family violence because I've experienced it. And if I could help just one woman, that would really be a huge life changer for me. One woman and her children would really be a huge life changer for me. So I've just realized that my TV is on. I'm gonna switch it off. Give me a minute. I didn't realize that before that my TV was on. So yeah, no, domestic and family violence happens to everybody. It doesn't matter what color skin you are, whether you're black, white, whatever race you are. It happens to everybody. It doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, or strong or not strong. It can happen to anybody, because no, a lot of people do not show these signs when you meet them. So when you meet somebody the first time, they're normally very loving. They will love bomb you, and you won't know that you won't know that that person is violent or abusive or whatever. So it's very important that for me now, my new take is to make sure that you raise awareness from, if you've got children, raise awareness from your children. Let your children be aware that not every human being on this earth is a healthy human being. Not every human being is loving and kind. Yeah. So I've just got this worksheet that talks about domestic and family violence information booklet. You can get it from CADA, Center Against Domestic and Family Violence. Their offices all over Australia. You can find it. Yeah. Um, so the thing with there's different kinds of abuse. So there's the abuse of where somebody instills fear in you, and this is a key element in domestic violence, and it's often the most powerful, where a perpetrator controls his victims. So fear can be created by looks, like he just looks at you and you know that you've got to be scared of him or her. And just so I mentioned, sometimes men also experience domestic violence, but the statistics are more on women than they are on men. Men do experience domestic violence, but the statistics are very small. They're very low because men are normally usually stronger than women. So that's why the statistics are higher. So normally it's just like the gesture, possession of weapons, even when they are not, they even when they may not have been used, and there's a destruction of property, cruelty to pets, or any behavior which can be used to intimidate and render powerless. So if you're in a relationship and you're experiencing fear, then clearly that's a good sign that you are in a domestic and family violence relationship. And yeah, because love, where there's perfect love, there's no fear. You don't have to be scared. There's a different kind of fear where I love my husband so much, or I love my wife so much that I don't want to hurt their feelings. That's a different kind of fear. But a kind of fear where you're scared to live your life, that's not okay. That's not on. So if you notice this kind of abuse, you need to seek help, because sometimes you may not be aware, and you may you may find yourself in such a situation and you don't know what to do. Then there's intimidation. Intimidation includes harassing you at work, when somebody wants to harass you at work, either by persistent phone calls, text messages, following you to work, or loitering near your workplace. It could also be smashing things, destroying your property, putting a fist through a wall, and handling of guns or other weapons, and intimidating body language like angry looks, raised voices, and questioning you for no apparent reason, and reckless driving. The thing with domestic and family violence, in a healthy relationship, you've got every right to go to work. You've got every right to be free. You've got every right to you've got every right to talk to anybody you want to talk to. Nobody should question you. Now, in an unhealthy relationship, everything you do is questioned. Then that's not a healthy relationship, and you need to seek help, and you need to seek a different direction of of how to go to handle this situation. Another type of abuse is physical abuse. This is normally the one that is normally known, because if somebody hits you, it's easy for you to notice that this is violence. But sometimes not every violent relationship involves being hit. Not everybody hits you. Sometimes it can just be verbal abuse that includes screaming, shouting, putting you down, name calling, sarcasm, ridiculing you, and or your religious beliefs or your ethnic background. Yeah, just calling you names. There's certain names that should never be called to a wife or a husband or a girlfriend or a boyfriend, and you're called all these names. We all get upset, we all get cranky. Conflict is something that happens in every relationship. Like, remember when you were growing up, you had conflicts with your brother, with your sister, you had conflicts with your friends. That's normal. But when conflict ends up into verbal abuse, where you're somebody screaming, yelling at you, screaming, making you feel uncomfortable, calling you names, that's another type of abuse. Then there's emotional abuse, where abusing the women by deliberately undermining your confidence and maybe leading you to believe that you're insane, you're stupid, you're a bad mother, or you're useless. This type of abuse humiliates, degrades, and demeans the victim. So threats could include to harm them or someone else, threats to take away your children, or to commit suicide. And behaviors can be like can also include silence or withdrawal. They just withdraw. That's another form of abuse. If you're experiencing emotional abuse, you need to consider that you're not in a healthy relationship. Another form of abuse is social abuse. So this is a behavior which includes isolation from social networks, verbal or physical abuse in public and in front of friends. So if you're being abused socially, you need to consider. And then there's economic abuse. Economic abuse is domestic violence, which can include economic abuse, which results in the victim being financially dependent on their partner. She may be denied access to money, including her own, demanding that she and her children live in an inadequate resources. This is very, 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 it's a very high one, because if a man knows that you're dependent on him financially, that is a huge thing for him. It's easy for him to control you, because he knows you need to eat, you need shelter, you need clothing, and you need your children to go to school, you need petrol, you need a car. So economic abuse is a huge one that a lot of perpetrators of violence use. And if you're experiencing economic abuse, that's another sign of abuse. You need to seek help. Then there is sexual abuse. This is a sexual assault is an act of violence, power, and control. And it can include many behaviors, which includes forced sexual contact, rape, forcing you to perform sexual acts that cause pain or humiliation, or forcing you to have sex with someone and causing injury to sexual organs. So you need to be aware if you're experiencing that. In a Zambian culture, a lot of times, like when I was getting married, my Bana Chimbusa taught me that it's a right for a man to have sex with me, even when I don't want to. And that's a wrong teaching, because sex is something that is holy. It was created by God and it's beautiful, and you both need to enjoy it, and you both need to agree to the terms and conditions of what you're going to do to one another. So if somebody forces you to have sex with them, that is unacceptable. That is abuse. And just because you're a wife, it doesn't mean you should serve another person anytime, even when you don't feel like having sex. That is sexual abuse. And then there's controlling behaviors. So controlling is controlling what you do, who she sees, who she talks to. Oh, who are you talking to? Even immediately you receive a phone call, somebody wants to who are you talking to? Oh, what did they say? Like, you've got every right as an adult to have a conversation with. Even as a child, yeah, you've got every right to talk to anybody you want to, as long as it's within the healthy framework and you're not cheating on somebody or anything. Nobody has the right to intimidate you because you're talking to somebody else. Yeah, so those are some of the controlling behaviors, where you go, keeping her from making any friends, talking to her family, or having any money. This normally happens. And if you've never experienced it, you may not understand where I'm coming from. But if you've experienced it, you definitely know you're not allowed to talk to your mother. I remember when I was married to somebody who was violent, he would not let me talk to my family members. He would not let me talk to my mom. And when I'm talking to my mom, he'll come and grab the phone and talk to my mom. Yeah, that's not okay. You've got every right to talk to anybody you want to, and nobody should make you fear for your life because of that. So even preventing you from going to work, or not allowing you to express your own feelings and thoughts. This is a good one, because when I was married to a man who was abusive, I wasn't allowed to express my feelings or my thoughts. If I expressed my feelings and my thoughts, he would call me names. I'll give you an example. I love shopping. Shopping is like, that's my thing. I love to shop. I love beautiful clothes. I love to do my nails. I love to go for a massage. And I just love shopping. I love spending money. So whenever I wanted to go shopping, even grocery shopping, he would tell me I'm a gold digger. And I'm like, I'm a gold digger because I love to shop, because I love to do my nails, because I love to look good, because I love expensive brands. So I'm a gold digger because I love that. And at first I actually believed I was a gold digger. I actually did. He made me believe that I was a gold digger. And no, I'm not. That's who I am. I love shopping. It's my love language. And that's okay. It's okay to love shopping. It's okay to have a love language that means spending money. I do spend money. I'm not a reckless shopper. I shop, I make sure my bills are paid, but I'm allowed to do what I love. I love my nails. I love my nails. They're pink. I love my Mac products, and Mac products are expensive. So whenever I go shopping for Mac products, it'll be like, "Oh, you're a gold digger. You just want money." No, I don't. I love to. I need to look after myself. So yeah, so you need to recognize controlling behavior is a huge part of a type of abuse. Controlling what you do, who you talk to, where you go, keeping you from making friends or talking to your family or having any money. That's a huge one. Preventing you from going to work or not allowing you to express your feelings or your thoughts. Not allowing your privacy or forcing you to go without food or water, not allowing cultural, religious, or personal freedom, and controlling behaviors that are often linked to jealousy. I'll give you an example of my privacy. When I first met this person, the first thing he asked for was my password to my computer. I didn't have a problem with it. I didn't think anything about it. I just thought, oh, well, he wants my password. So he got into my password, started checking all the messages I had. I think I met him in 2006 or 2005. And he started checking all the messages I had received from my boyfriends, not boyfriends as in intimate partners, just friends who are male. He started checking everything that I had done in the past, like 2004, 2003, 2002, things I had done when I was at uni, when I was 21, because I met him when I was 26, 25 or 26. So things I had done when I was 21, things I had done when I was 20. He checked everything, and he would come and accuse me, oh, you dated this person in 2001. I'm like, that was before I met you. I'm allowed to have a past, dude. So he would really harass me over that. Then there would be a big fight over it. And yeah, that is abuse. Nobody has a right to get into your internet. And in fact, both of you, there's nothing wrong with giving each other passwords. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But if it becomes unhealthy, and if the other party forces himself on you, forces himself into your emails, and all that, that's unhealthy. I think I got it to a stage where I changed passwords. So what he did was he bought a software, put it on his computer. I wasn't allowed to use any other computer. I had to use his computer. So whenever I logged into it, the software was able to save everything that I had done. If I wrote emails to my mom, to my friends, to my best friend, then he would come and question everything I was discussing. And I'm like, where did he get this information from? And he would question those things, and sometimes he would beat me up over it. And that's wrong. That's not okay. It's not okay. You've got every right to send emails to your mom or your sister, or your best friend, or your friends, or even your male friends, as long as you're not cheating on him. But because a lot of people who are violent, actually, um, they come with their own insecurities. They have their own insecurities. One of the insecurities they may have will be either they were raised by a father who was very abusive towards their mother, so that damaged them, and they've never gone to seek for healing. So now when they marry somebody, they replay the same that they saw growing up. Psychology has proven that how you grew up affects your later parts of life. So a lot of men who behave this way, they saw their fathers abuse their mothers. Others, they were abused themselves, so they're insecure, and taking control of a woman is the only way that they feel in power. They feel like they can make it. Yeah. So, some of the following questions, if it's happened to you once or many times, the behaviors indicate that your partner is choosing to use a system of power and control over you, and answering them may alert you to a level of danger in your situation. So there are questions like, has your partner accused you of having affairs or being sexual with others? I was accused a lot of times, even when I was just, because I'm a friendly, bubbly person. I love to go out there. I talk to everybody. And yeah, so I was normally accused, oh, you're cheating on me. And I'm like, no, I'm not. What's going on? Acted like you're a possession that can be owned. I felt like I was a possession that I could be owned. He wanted me to dress like a Muslim. He wanted me. I wasn't allowed to go eat where, like, if I love going to restaurants. I wasn't allowed to go there because it's too fancy, it's too expensive. I'm a gold digger if I go to a restaurant. I was just like his possession. Like, I had to wear what he wanted. I wasn't allowed to go to church because he was Jehovah's Witness and I was Seventh Day Adventist. So he wouldn't let me go to church. That's wrong. You're allowed to practice your religion. And I get it. I also made a mistake of marrying him because I saw these signs. I remember God once, him and I went on a first date, and I remember him stealing newspapers from another person, a person who was selling newspapers. And I remember the Holy Spirit speaking to me and telling me, Lucy, don't marry this person. But because the Holy Spirit speaks so still and so gentle, you think, maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe the Holy Spirit is not actually wanting me to. I'm not listening hear the Holy Spirit properly. So for me, I actually don't blame the other party, because the other party told me who they were when I met them. They told me who they were in their behaviors. They had shown that they were not healthy people. They had shown that they were controlling, they were manipulating. But I ignored the signs because I thought, oh, he's an electrician. And because of my height, I'm very tall. So it's not easy to find a tall, handsome guy. And I thought, he's an electrician, he's tall, he's handsome, he's light skinned from a dark community. He was lighter than me. So he's light skinned. And he had a lot of features that a lot of us women look for in a man. And for me, I thought that was more important than his mental status. So yeah. So for me, I don't really put the blame on him, because I take full responsibility of the fact that God showed me all the signs, and this man did not pretend at all. He showed me he was controlling, he showed me he was abusive, but I never picked it up. I was just thinking, oh, maybe he's having a bad day. Oh, no, maybe it's me. Maybe it's me who's having issues. Like, yeah, I always threw it on myself. And the other reason for that is because I grew up in a dysfunctional home where there was abuse. So I think psychology actually does prove that when you grow up in a home where there's abuse, it's easy for you to be desensitized. So you kind of like don't make a big deal out of abuse because you think I grew up in it. And the first 12 years are very sensitive because actually the first 5, then the first 7, then the first 12. But as a child, if you're exposed to any form of abuse, you see abuse from your parents, or you're exposed to abuse from your uncle, your sister, or any form of abuse, you're desensitized to think that's normal. So even when I saw the signs, because nobody had made me aware that those behaviors were wrong, I just ignored them and I thought, I love him enough. He's gonna change. Because I love him, he's gonna change for me. And that's a big mistake that a lot of women make. A lot of women think because I love him, he's gonna make the effort to change. No, it doesn't work like that. I remember when he was arrested after 6 years of marriage and he assaulted me, and I finally decided this is enough. I remember the police telling me only 1% change. 1%. And I remember the night of the assault and the neighbors calling the police. And I remember thinking, this is it. I'm not doing this anymore because I've been married to this man 6 years and he was getting worse. The controlling behavior was getting sick and toxic and very, very, very bad. So for me, it would be foolish for me to stay and think he was going to change. People like that don't change. They don't. Because even me, there's certain habits that I've grown up doing. I don't change from those habits. Habits like I love shopping, I love to do my nails, and so many other habits. I'm not just gonna change those habits in one night. So certain habits like being controlling, thinking a woman is a possession. He thought a woman was second class citizen. A woman is a second class citizen. He's a man. He's in charge. The other one I wanted to talk about was some actually want to make you feel like you're a maid, like they want to put gender roles. You're a woman, your job is in the kitchen. The moment you hear a man doing those things, you know you're in an abusive relationship and you need to walk away because uh, um, being in a relationship, it doesn't mean a woman has to do all the work. Imagine we move to a foreign country, we move to Australia, and in Zambia, we've got maids, we've got garden boys, we've got house boys, we've got chefs in the house. There are people who've even got chefs. So you come to Australia, you've got no maid, you've got no garden boy, then you still have to work and you still have to provide for the home. And the man is working and providing for the home. So both of you, man's working, providing for the home, woman's working, providing for the home. You both come home, you've got kids. We had 2 children. I had to bath the kids, put them to bed. First, I had to make dinner, put them to bed, bath them. And on top of that, you have to go into bed and provide extra marital fruit. And which you're not superwoman to provide those things. You can't manage to do those things. You got to work. And for me, I was working I was running a business at that moment. I was doing family daycare. So you can imagine I've been looking after 8 children, 2 of my own, and the rest were not. And then on top of that, I've had to cook, to clean, to make sure he came to a clean house. I've made sure I've done the laundry, I've ironed, and I'm this woman I've got OCD, so I have to keep a house clean. I have to do all these things. He comes home, he doesn't help. He doesn't help, not even with dinner. He sits down and puts his feet up. You need to know that as a woman, you're also tired. You need to put your feet up. You need to rest. On top of that, you have to bath the kids, put them to bed, read them a bedtime story. And then on top of that, you have to go give extra. You have to go and give and be intimate with your partner. It's not possible. It is stressful. It is strenuous. And if I asked him to help, he would say, "No, you weren't well taught." And as an African woman, you need to be able to do the right thing. You need to clean for me. You need to cook for me. And I thought every morning I had to make the bed because I love to come home to a clean bed. And that's just me. That's just my quirky thing. You come home to a clean bed, but you're the one. So if you're going to be married for, let's say, if we got married at 26 and we lived till we were 90. So for the next 50 years, I'm going to be the one making the bed every morning. That is too much. It's too much. You can't manage to do that. That is abuse. So you need to think of all those things. A man like I remember coming from labor. I had given birth to my second son. I gave birth and because I was fine. I was released straight away. Released, and we came home. And first of all, when we came home, I needed to buy clothes because now those clothes I went, they were not fitting. Buying clothes, he didn't want me to buy clothes that I loved. He wanted me to buy, I think I was a 10 or an 8. He wanted me to buy size 18. So he bought a lot of clothes size 18. They were big, covering me up to there. I looked like a nanny, like a nun. I had to be all covered up. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup. And then on top of that, I come home, the house was dirty. The night I was having a baby, he came back home, I think, and the house was dirty. And I can't live in a dirty home. And I'm like, the house is dirty. There's a newborn baby. I had to clean the house. And it was really hard. I've just given birth. Like, there's no sense of you thinking that your wife has just given birth. If you can't manage to do the cleaning, get a cleaner. He couldn't do any of those things. He got a lot of money. He got a lot of money. I think he got almost $10,000 for his paternity leave. Sent it all back to Zambia. There was no money for food. There was no money for clothes. So I had to go back to work when when my son was 3 weeks old. And my son never even got the six weeks immunization, so he was exposed to other children. Luckily, God protected him and he never got sick, but because I needed to feed the home, so I had to feed him, I had to feed myself and my 2 children. I had to clothe us and everything, and he wasn't gonna contribute. He's one of these men who was a breadwinner. I'm a breadwinner from Zambia, so he had to look after everybody: his mom, his dad, his cousins, his uncles, everybody except for me and the kids. And what's a relationship? You can't be in a relationship like that. It needs to be balanced. So if you answer some of these questions, he throws objects, he spits on you or urinates on you, has denied all responsibility for his behavior. A lot of them don't accept responsibility for their behavior, and that goes into narcissism. Most of them are actually narcissistic people. They don't even have empathy. Some of their behaviors, like, how would you feel if it was me? If I treated, or if it was my sister has just given birth, she has to come home, she has to cook, she has to clean. That there's control and there's an imbalance there. A relationship should balance, period. It should balance. It should be like a scale. It should balance. You give, you take, you give, you take. You don't just take, because now you're making the other person really exhausted, and that's not okay. So there are things like you're pushed or shoved, your objects. I remember one of the things he did was smash my phone, try to control, confuse you with lies. They gaslight you a lot. I don't know if you know what gaslighting is. They gaslight you and make you think you're crazy. They threaten to turn you into Centrelink, taxation department, or other authorities. They made you have sex after emotional or physical abuse or when you are sick. This happened to me a couple of times. He would assault me, and then he would force me to have sex with him. And the last night of the assault, I said that was enough. They call you a whore, a slut, or other derogatory names. Insisted you dress more or less sexually that you want. You're not allowed to dress sexually. Like I was definitely not allowed to wear dresses like this beautiful dress that I'm wearing. I wasn't allowed. They I've lost. They threaten to hurt your children or your pets or your family members. They make you do something very humiliating or degrading. They use the children to threaten you. he still uses my children as pawns. They call you ugly, and they tell you things like nobody will ever marry you. They refuse to pay household bills or give you money towards them. They take away your money. He took away my money. He took away my tithe. If I paid tithe, he would take it away from me and send it to his family members. Because he's Jehovah's Witness, he doesn't believe in tithe. He keeps you from seeing family and friends. I wasn't allowed to see family and friends, so I was pretty much isolated. He threatened to leave you or told you to leave. He checked everywhere I had gone. He had tracking devices on me. So everywhere I went, he checked where I was. He was monitoring or limiting my phone calls or conversations and emails. He blamed me for his anger and violence. So every time he hit me, he'd be like, it's your fault. It's because you were not dressed properly. Or it's because in that email you said blah, blah, blah. Or it's because, it was always my fault. I was always the scapegoat in the relationship. He blamed me for his anger. He punched holes and doors. He smashed my belongings, especially my phones. If he found there was a text message that he didn't like, or I talked to an old friend, he would smash my phones and acted like I was a possession. I think I already mentioned about that. So normally what happens in the cycle of violence is there's a build-up phase. So there's a honeymoon stage. So there was love bombing. He would love bomb me, and these things would be like pretty much like the honeymoon stage would be denial of previous difficulties and immension. He would be like, you're making it up. We've got the best relationship, Lucy. Like, you and I are soulmates. We're the best. Then there will be, this one person wasn't, he was very stingy. So he wouldn't really buy me gifts because he was very stingy with his money. Money was a huge thing for him. And then over a sudden, there'll be an increased tension. So I'm talking about the cycle of violence. There'll be increased tension. From nowhere, there was nothing that I ever did or said that was ever right. I had to walk on eggshells. Sometimes you're just like, what just happened? We were just in a honeymoon phase. We were loving each other like we just met. And now you're telling me that there's tension? Maybe because he checked my emails and there was something in my email that he didn't like, or maybe because he had tracking devices, so he had tracked me and I had gone somewhere without him and he was upset, or I'd gone for a walk. I wasn't allowed to go for a walk. And then there was standover phase where the control and the fear, then I'll be fearing for my life, especially that I was in Australia in a foreign country with no family and friends. So I was be like, I'm so scared for my life. Maybe he's going to deport me or stuff like that. Then, bam, there'll be an explosion. So the explosion would either be just either a huge verbal argument and verbal abuse. Remember the types of abuse? Or he would actually physically beat me up. And then after that, there was remorse. Would he force me to have sex with him? And I think that would be a way for him to say sorry. And then he'll be like, he'll justify his behavior and minimize how I was feeling and the guilt. He'll say, it's your fault that I beat you up. If you did not dress like that, or if you did not send that text messages, or if you did not talk to your mother the way that you did not share personal information about our relationship to your mother, I would not have beaten you up. And I'd be gaslighted and I'd feel guilty. I would think it's my fault. It's my fault that this is happening to me. And it's not my fault. If you're going through that, it's not your fault. You've got every right to send emails. You've got every right to talk to your mother, whichever way you want to talk to you. And then there'll be the pursuant phase, pursuant and promise, helplessness, threats. They'll be like, if you leave me, us were the best, we're soulmates. If you leave me, where am I gonna go? So there'll be those events and that cycle would continue. And you get sucked into that cycle and you think it's okay. It's okay. This is normal. It's not normal. It's not normal. Healthy relationships are not like that. So the cycle continued for 6 years until on the last night he assaulted me. The neighbors called the police. He was arrested. For me, that was the journey. That was the end of the journey. So the cycle of violence you need to pick it up. If you my listeners are in a cycle of violence where there's love bombing, then there's build up tension. You don't even know where the tension is coming from. You're walking on eggshells. You don't know what you've done, whether you did the right thing or whether you did the wrong thing. You've got no idea what just happened. Then you're in a violent relationship. Then there's control, there's explosion. Then he just starts apologizing. For my partner never apologized with flowers or anything because he was stingy with money. But there's some men who apologize with flowers. They'll take you on a holiday, and or they'll buy you an expensive phone. I never experienced that because my partner was stingy, but some people do that. So if you're in that environment, or they buy you a house, and I've had a friend who received a beautiful house. He just hit her, and she received a beautiful house, and she was like, "I'm not leaving. He's just bought me this house, and it's in my name. I can't leave." But you need to remember that some people have died from that cycle. So the other point I wanted to make was there has to be there's this the non-violence where there's equality. So you see that will, yeah. So there's that will. It's a non-violence. This is a sign of an equal relationship where there's economic partnership, making money decisions together, making sure both partners benefit from financial arrangements. And then there's negotiating and fairness, seeking mutually satisfying resolutions to conflict, accepting change and being willing to compromise. That is a healthy relationship. Non threatening behavior, talking and acting so that she feels safe and comfortable expressing herself and doing things. Yeah, you're allowed to feel safe in a relationship, just so you know. If you never knew that, you're allowed to feel safe. There should be respect, listening to her non judgmentally. Nobody should judge you when you're talking or when you're expressing your thoughts or your feelings. You're allowed to be you. Isn't that a good thing? And your opinion should be valued. And then there should be trust and support, supporting your goals in life, respecting your right to your own feelings, friends, activities, and opinions. When I was married to him, he never allowed me to go to church. He never allowed me. Oh, by the way, he was Jehovah's Witness. So we were not allowed to celebrate birthdays. We were not allowed to have Christmas. We were not allowed to have Mother's Day, Easter. We were not allowed to have these special events. Christmas, yeah. No birthdays, no Christmas, no Easter, no Mother's Day, no Father's Day. Nothing, no holidays were not, and that's why I travel. I make sure every opportunity I get, I travel because I love to travel. And I never had that opportunity for 6 years. But at the end of the day, I take responsibility that I saw the signs. I went ahead and married him because I thought marrying somebody is because he's handsome, he's tall, he's an electrician, he had the same dreams as me. We wanted to travel, and he wanted to travel too. So I take full responsibility of the fact that I saw the signs. I should have walked away. But now it's my turn to help women who are experiencing the same thing and they don't know what to do. So if you find a relationship, there's power and control. That's a problem. The relationship I'm describing right now is what's healthy equality. So trust and support. You've got a right to an opinion. You've got a right to dress as you like. You've got a right to go on holidays. You've got a right to spend money how you like, as long as you're responsible. If you're responsible, hell yeah, I get where it's coming from. But if I'm a responsible person. I know that. I budget well. I know how to run my household. So somebody coming to question my sanity, nah, that's not okay. Honesty and accountability, accepting responsibility for self, acknowledging past use of violence, admitting being wrong, communicating openly and truthfully. You see? So there should be honesty and accountability. Some people are never held accountable. I'm sure you've got family members. I've got family members who you don't hold them accountable. They're just like, you did this. No, I didn't. Oh no, it was your fault that I did it. I've got family members like that. And so for me, I think because I grew up with a few family members who never were never held accountable and they never took responsibility for their behavior, I kind of like thought it was okay. I kind of thought like it was normal. So when I met a man who never held accountable, who never held who never took responsibility for his behavior, I kind of just thought, oh, we can fix it. We can fix it. But no, it's not okay. A healthy relationship, people need to be held accountable. I know, like when my kids tell me, "Mommy, I make mistakes." Like yesterday, I met my daughter's friend's dad, and I was like, "Oh, your daughter always talks about your son." And my daughter was like, "Mom, no, don't say that. I don't always talk about him. It will give a wrong impression." And I'm like, "Oops, that's right. I shouldn't have said that. I should have said I've heard about your son from my daughter. She has mentioned." And I had to apologize to my daughter and say, "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was caught up in the moment and I made a mistake." And I'm a kind of person, I'm a strong believer in apologizing to my children because I'm teaching them, I'm being the role model that they should be. I'm teaching them, and I want them to know that other people should be held accountable. She held me accountable for my behavior and for my mouth that sometimes says things that it shouldn't say. And I had to be held accountable, and I had to tell her, "I'm so sorry, darling. I will be more aware next time." So a lot of people, if they're in a violent relationship, a lot of people do not, they're not held accountable. They're not held accountable. They do not take responsibility of their behavior. And yeah, that is wrong. Responsible parenting, sharing parenting responsibilities, being positive, non-violent role model for the children. So responsible parenting. We never had a responsible parenting. For me, I'm Seventh-day Adventist. He was Jehovah's Witness. That should have been another big, strong red light, red flag. But yeah, I ignored it. I thought I love him enough. He's an electrician. He's well. We were taught wrongly sometimes. We were taught that as long as a man has a good job, he's good looking. No, that's not okay. A man needs to be mentally well. It's not about him providing for the home. Besides, he couldn't even provide for a home. I had to be the provider. Even if he earned a lot of money, he earned over $100,000 a year, and I had dreams of buying a house. I had dreams of just living this beautiful life, which we didn't get to live. It was just a dream. I had that dream. He never had that dreams. When we were all looking for different things. For me, it's about, I thought as a little girl, you always think you get married, you have a wedding, you have kids, they go to private school, then you buy a house, you buy beautiful cars. To me, that was my imagination of my future, but it didn't turn out to be that way. Instead, I met a man who was abusive. He never had the same dreams as I did. He was not looking for the things I was looking for. So there wasn't responsible parenting. And I had a dream that my kids were going to an Adventist private school, and he didn't want that to happen. And then even I had a dream that my kids would celebrate every birthday would be a big thing. And he was like, "Nah, they're not celebrating birthdays." And Christmas, I had a dream when I was a little girl, Christmas would be a big thing. There'll be presents under the tree. And yeah, it wasn't like that with him. So yeah, and then the other thing is shared responsibility. That's a huge thing. Mutually agreeing on a fair distribution of work, making family decisions together. That's a big thing. You need to make family decisions together. We never made family decisions together. We never sat down as a couple to even discuss what was going to happen to our children, for our children, and to us as a couple. There was no discussion. He discussed things with his mother or his sister or his brother. And I'm like, I'll just get to know, oh, my mom and dad are doing this. Oh, I'm opening a boutique for my sister. I'm like, you're opening for a boutique for your sister. You're not opening a boutique for me. Are you serious? Yeah, there were things like that. So shared responsibility. So you need to remember a lot of the abusive people are cohesive. They use cohesion and threats, making and or carrying out threats to do something to hurt her, threatening to leave her, to commit suicide, to report her to welfare, making her drop charges, and making her do illegal things. So some people, if you have a domestic violence order against them, they'll ask you to drop their charges. And then they use intimidation, making you afraid by using locks, actions, gestures, smashing things, destroying your property, abusing pets, and displaying weapons. If you see this happening, that's not healthy. God did not intend for a marriage to be like that. If I were you, I'd walk away. If you were my sister, I'd ask you to walk away. If you were my daughter, I would literally come and take you out of the house. But I know I'm not allowed to do that. I respect somebody else's permission. But if you ask for my advice, I would not encourage you to stay in that place because it's detrimental to your mental health. It damages you, and the damage takes a long time for you to erase it. If you've got a good memory like me, you actually never forget. So you have flashbacks of these events, you have post-traumatic PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, and it's not healthy for your well-being. And they also use emotional abuse, like putting you down. I think I discussed this in the beginning, making you feel bad about yourself, calling you names, and making you think you're crazy. Playing mind games, humiliating you, and making you feel guilty. You're not crazy. You're okay. So if you see something that is making you cringe, then it's cringeworthy. You need to check it out. You need to ask people, do you think what I'm going through is okay? And then they use isolation. I was isolated a lot. I wasn't allowed to go to church. I wasn't allowed to go to the shops. He would come with me. If I went to see a friend, he would come with me, and he'll be sitting there listening to our conversation. And whatever I would tell my friend afterwards, he would question everything I said with my friend. And then sometimes he would beat me up. Sometimes it would just be a big explosion of an argument. And that is unhealthy. Also limiting your outside involvement, and he would use jealousy to justify his actions. My worst thing is wearing long things. I hate long things. Oh my goodness, he made me wear long things. That was the worst power and control. I felt like a pet, where he was like, Lucy, sit down. Lucy, stand up. Lucy, or it was like master slave relationship where he would tell me, Lucy, jump, and I'll be like, how high, sir? And I reached a stage, I need to be true to myself. I need to honor Lucy. I need to honor Lucy and heal Lucy so that next time I don't repeat this cycle, because I repeated it twice. Minimizing and denying and blaming. Somebody has hurt you, they have to accept. They have to, like I said about my daughter, you have to accept that I've made a mistake. I'm human. I'm not Jesus. I'm not God. I make mistakes. You need to learn. In a healthy relationship, people acknowledge that they make mistakes and we move on. Let's fix it. Let me be better. Next time, if I'm doing something and I'm not aware that I'm hurting you, please give me a tickle, give me a poke. Lucy, Mommy, that's what my kids do. Mommy, remember we talked about this? Mommy, have you forgotten? Mommy, you're hurting my feelings. In the relationship, it's the same way. Lucy, you're hurting my feelings. And you say, oh, I'm so sorry. The people who never apologize, you never get an apology. And sometimes when you leave a domestic violence relationship, you need to remember that you need to heal without an apology, because they will never apologize, because to them you are the wrong. You never dressed as you wanted them to do. You never went to their church. Like for me, my ex-husband believed I had to go to Jehovah's Witness. I was never going to go to Jehovah's Witness. I was never going to step foot in that church. Congregation, whatever they call it. And I'm not putting down Jehovah's Witness, because Jehovah's Witness are beautiful people. I've had friends and family members who are Jehovah's Witness, and they're amazing people. They're not abusive. So for me, he gave me a shock, because all the Jehovah's Witness I ever encountered before I met him were amazing people. So for me to have a person who treated me that way as a Jehovah's Witness, I was really disappointed in the Jehovah's Witness. And I don't think I will ever have a positive outlook on their faith. But they're people, I just want to point out that they're people who are Jehovah's Witness and they are amazing. Yeah. And then he would use male privilege, like treating me like a servant, making all the big decisions. I wasn't allowed to make decisions in that marriage. And yeah, I wasn't going to do that anymore. 6 years was more than enough. Acting like the master of the castle. He was the master of the castle and I was the slave. I had to mop after him. And I really had to mop after him. Some things I can't share them because this is with the public, and my children one day may see this video, but he was the master of the castle and I had to mop after him. And if I didn't, he would put me in my place. You're a woman. Nah, that's not on. And being the one to define men's and women's roles. He was so good. You're a woman. You have to kneel down for me. I'm not kneeling down for a man. I remember having this conversation with my dad. I said, Dad, am I supposed to kneel down for him? He said, he has to kneel down for you too, because it's not a master-slave relationship. You're not his slave. Lucy, you're his wife. You're his best friend. You're best friends. Best friends don't kneel down for each other. I know it's an African culture, and it's okay if you want to kneel down for your husband. It's okay, but nobody should force you to kneel for your husband. And the last one is using economic abuse, preventing you from getting or keeping a job, making her ask for money, giving her an allowance, taking her money, not letting her know about or having access to family income. Yeah, I remember we never even knew how much he was earning. I knew after the night of his arrest, that's when I knew how much he was earning. So my last point is your relationship needs to be balanced. So there's a relationship where somebody is standing and somebody is sleeping. That's a doormat relationship where they can step all over you. And then there's another relationship where people are imbalanced like that. So if this one falls, this one will also fall. That's frame dependency relationship. It's not good. Then there's this other relationship which is smothering. You're just into each other. Like I love my personal space, and in this relationship, I never had my personal space. He would always smother me. He wants to go with me everywhere. I go to the shops, sometimes even to the toilet. Like, dude, I need my personal space. I do. So sometimes you need to recognize that when somebody he's always there. You want to go to see your girlfriend. He's there. You want to go for a walk. He when he went to work and I had free time, I wanted to go. Sometimes I need me time. Every person needs me time. I wouldn't be allowed to have me time. You need me time. You need your personal space. I would have my personal space, and he'd be like, no, he wants to be there. No, you can't be there. Even with my children, I'm not with my children all the time. They go to school. Sometimes they go out to go with their friends. Like my son is very close to me. The first time he had to go to play by himself, he actually walked to the neighbors. The neighbors, I was like, oh, he's going to be by himself. It's healthy. You need personal space, not smothering with each other. Nah, that's not healthy. Banaba Jesu, that's not healthy. Then there's this one, the pedestal relationship, where you're put on a pedestal. This one is on a pedestal and this one is kneeling down to worship him. Nah, that's not healthy. I had a pedestal relationship where my husband, he felt like he was the king of the castle. So I had to kneel down before him. When I give him water, I'm kneeling down, my king, my king. I had to worship him, even to get $1. Like, he would never give me money for anything. Yeah, so there was no mutual love. And then there's this one which is master slave. Oh, I had all these relationships in that same one relationship, the master slave relationship. That's not okay. You're not a slave in any relationship. You're equal. You're equal. It has to balance. And there's the boarding house back to back relationship. That one is not good because you're just like back to back. If this person falls, you also fall. So yeah, and then there's which one is this one? Macho relationship. The macho relationship, that's a bad one. I've had that relationship probably where you carry everybody's baggage. That's an unhealthy relationship. It's psychologically damaging. And I'm gonna focus on this topic in another video. But where you carry everybody's baggage. If he's sick, it's your fault. You're the scapegoat of the family. If he's upset, it's your fault. It's because you didn't dress up properly or you didn't do the right thing. Everything you're like, here is the person who completely sacrifices by trying to serve others. You're just serving. No, you need to fill up your cup as well. Always doing things for other people, never taking time for self. The macho takes on more and more burdens, but do not think this person has no power. The macho position is very controlling, because you feel like with guilt. Oh, I didn't do that, so I'm so sorry. Yeah, macho relationship not healthy. Then there is a healthy, loving relationship. This is the sign for the healthy relationship. With this one, it's equal. Everybody is equal and it's balanced. So that's all I had for you today about if you're in a domestic violence relationship, seek help. If you're in Australia, you can call Lifeline, you can call Divi Connect, you can just call Center Against Domestic Violence. There's a lot of help out there. Or talk to a friend or talk to a pastor. Yeah, talk to somebody. Don't keep it to yourself. The more you keep it to yourself, silence in a domestic violence relationship, you can end up being killed. We've buried a lot of women. I remember Alison Braden Clay, she's been buried, and so many other women that are not even they haven't even hit the news yet. So you need to be aware of that. Just so for the record, I've written a book, From Prison to Palace. That's the book. From Prison to Palace. This is how I survived a domestic violence relationship. So if you want a copy, you can always email me, leave a message, and I'll be able to contact you. All right, my lovelies. If you're in a domestic violence relationship, remember, you're not the only one. It happens to anybody. It happens to doctors. It happens to lawyers. It happens to the rich, the poor, the educated, the non-educated. And sometimes people don't know that they're in a violent relationship because either they grew up with a violent father or mother or a narcissistic parent, and so to them they've just attracted the same person in a different body. So you need to heal those emotions, those psychological wounds that you have that have led the narcissist to be attracted to you and abuse you, and you become a victim. So you need to be a victor and thrive. So I hope you've learned a lot from this video. Please like, subscribe, and share it so that other people may learn about what domestic violence is. Thank you. Bye.